of you who don't think this election is important, this is about your kids and your grandkids. This is about what America will look like and whether or not the world has an example and an inspiration and a model to follow. I love his leadership and his approach, Senator Obama's, because it transcends all of these silly, old, antiquated lines in politics that says you can't do good things and big things unless the parties sanction it. We're in a different era. The politics of the left or the right where you're sitting, or the right or the left where you're sitting, those days are over. The new politics is either moving forward. Y'all didn't hear me. The new politics is either moving forward or remaining stuck in the past. Now, we have a choice in this race. And I say a choice because the race is a tie. All of these public polls and all of this stuff, let me tell you, my opponent won't release one of his polls for one reason. It's a tie. The National Republican Party, it's a tie. The National Democratic Party, it's a tie. Our polling this morning after polling showed that 45-44 us, it's a tie. Which means one thing. If people go to the polls and vote for the future, vote for a change, vote for a difference, we can join Senator Obama. I say we because it's going to be your office in the United States Senate. We can join him and work to make a change. I close on these two notes. Things happen in campaigns, and Bishop joined us 2 or 3 weeks ago and just gave. Sometimes you go in campaigns and you're getting hit so much. The Bible tells us we should forgive and forgive. And the disciple asked Jesus one point, Reverend Merritt, how many times should I forgive? The disciple said 7 times. Jesus said, no, 77. I want you to know Bob Corker has tested that scripture in this campaign. Now, my faith is so strong, though. You can't, the book of Ephesians 6:12 says, so we wrestle against flesh and blood, not against principalities and powers. And you always have to remember that as you push through. 2 Timothy 1:7, for my Lord didn't give me the spirit of fear, but love and power and a sound mind. You have to remember that as you move forward. Psalm 23, it says, for though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. He didn't say I sit down or I rested in the shadow. He said, I walk. So you have to keep walking. Even the great political figures. And Barack's going to be quoted one day, but Churchill once said, it said, when you're going through hell, you just keep walking. And we find ourselves with all of this negativity. You got to keep walking and keep believing and keep holding on. Bishop reminded us 3 weeks ago that we're in it to win it. Now, you have to remember that, And I remember that and internalized it over the last few days. And I look at all these pretty mamas of the church is what we called you at my church, and mothers of the church. And I cut this ad in my own church. They jumped on me for going to my church. When the man criticized my daddy and criticized my family and lied on my record and said I was for gay marriage, knowing I wasn't. When he said I wanted to give schoolgirls abortion pills, I didn't know where else to go but my church. So I went to my church, and the beauty of being there that afternoon, doing it, Pastor Broadnex, was, and it was in the evening after church had gone on, and my pastor, they criticized my pastor, and I said, I love the fact that we're having a conversation about the role of faith in public life at the end of a campaign, Bishop McKenzie. The beauty of doing that ad, and one of the treats was, I got to sit in the church where y'all sit. I never get to sit in the second or the third pews in church, so we did the advertisement, TV advertisement, right on the third pew. So as I see y'all, I'm just so excited because you're the rock and the pillar, and you remind me of my own grandmama who knew how to use a switch. So as I said, throughout this campaign, you always meet people and you see things, and things happen for a reason because God is big and God is good. We were out campaigning last week. I'll tell you when it was leading up to TSU's homecoming. I'm glad they won, but I'm hurt they lost last night. So as I was standing out on the corner of 12th and Broadway, right across from the Tennessee, and shaking hands and putting bumper stickers on cars, a young fellow walked up to me, Barack, Senator Obama, and he said, he's my friend, but I was going to speak from there because I want to come back here as a senator, but Pastor told me I could come up here and speak, so I came up here to the pulpit to speak. But as we were shaking hands, a young man came up to me, had his army jacket draped over his right arm. And I got hungry. We'd been putting stickers on cars and running all day, and I've lost about 14 pounds, and my mama is worried about me. My aunt and everybody, all my grandmothers in Memphis are worried about me. So I ordered me a cheeseburger, double, and fries and a Diet Coke. Shouldn't have, but I did. So I go to the bathroom to wash my hands, Senator Obama. I come out the bathroom room, and this fella standing there, he's got the army jacket over his arm, and he's got a little bit of a shake to him. He nods back and forth, and God's been good. He served us in war, and it was obvious that he came back, didn't get all the help that he needed. So he's standing there, and I'm looking at him, and I said, I shook his hand, and he said, can I talk to you for a moment? I said, absolutely. I just knew he was going to ask me for some money. And I was ready to go in my pocket and give him a 20 or 40 or whatever I had, and said, look, you buy something now and keep something for a little later. That's how I understand the Bible. I know a lot of people talk about the Bible, but that's how I understand the Bible. So I looked at him, and he said, he's nodding. He says, I want you to know, he repeated himself. I was walking down the street, and I saw you all. And I walked over to you all, and nobody spoke to me. He said, but when I took off my jacket and I had the tie on, everybody came over and said hello to me and shook my hand. So I'm just listening. I'm ready to go in my pocket, take out that 20, that 40, Bishop McKenzie and Pastor Broadnex, Reverend Merritt, and he says, I want you to know that I live down the street at the homeless shelter. So I figured he was going to ask me to come visit. And I was already thinking I had time to do it, so we can, you know how politicians get. We thinking about time and whether we can do these things. I figured we can do it. So he says, I want you to know I got back from a war and I don't have a home. I don't have a job. I said, yes, sir. He had already said. I said, yes, sir. I'm ready now to go in and get $40 or $60 out to make sure he's able to take care of him. So I didn't mean in a bad way, but just a positive way. He says, you know, a lot of people getting ready to come back from Iraq in the next month or two or the next year or so. I said, yes, sir. And I got my hand on the money. He says, do me a favor. I said, yes, sir. I'm ready to give him the money. He says, don't let them end up like me. Now, a lot of people talk about how God speaks to them. I ain't been blessed enough to have a conversation with God, but I never doubt anybody that says they had. But that conversation, y'all not with me. I know I'm preaching. I know I'm Baptist. I can't help it. So as I listened to him say that, I said, you know what? Somebody was talking to me. Because I had heard all these people, I've been criticized all day, and they had it on TV. How are you responding? And he looked at me and just said something so honest, so simple, so plain, so direct. Then last week, I'm in Clarksville with General Wes Clark. Young fella interrupts our program, gets up on the mic and says, I want to give you something. I'm 25 years old, served 2 tours in Iraq. I'm now at school at Austin Peay University, Senator Herron. He said, they gave me an Iraqi Medal of Freedom for serving and fighting for this country. He said, I want you to have my Iraqi Medal of Freedom. I looked at him, I said, son, I can't take your Iraqi Medal of Freedom. I voted for the war. What do you mean? I can't take your Iraqi Medal of Freedom. I'm trying to figure out how we bring. He said, look, I believe in you. And I want you to know you need to have this. So when you get to the Senate, you're reminded every day of what you need to do when you get there. Now, most people in the Senate have their own names up outside their office. It says U.S. Senator Lamar Alexander. Bless his heart. U.S. Senator John McCain. U.S. Senator Barack Obama. But when you send me to the Senate, our office is going to say Tennessee's United States Senate office. And we're going to hang this medal right up under where it says Tennessee. Because I want to be reminded every single day that I'm there that we're not going to let one veteran come back and be mistreated, that we're going to find a way to win this war on our terms, on the world's terms, and we're going to find a way to give true meaning to all that's talked about in Luke and John and Matthew and how we treat the poor and how we treat the least and the last and the disadvantaged. Because as my pastor told me today, he baptized me. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Thank you, and God bless you.